What's up, world? Glad you guys could join us. Another Friday Night Live Q&A. Welcome, welcome. Glad to see you guys in the chat. And I hope you guys are doing well. So right off the bat, let me go ahead and announce we did finally get our website back going. Had to end up going to Shopify because GoDaddy really dropped the ball on us. And now we kind of have a temporary website, or at least something up. It's not completely everything that we had from last time, but it is a work in progress, and it is at least something for you guys. So I know many of you guys were waiting for it. And we are starting to live off on the Wi-Fi today. So hopefully it turns out pretty good. Because last time, I didn't realize till towards the end. But Chevy Fish, Davo, Thomas G, JP Price, glad to see you guys. Glad you guys can make it. Like Missoula, Aquarium Fantasy, hello, hello. But the whole reason why we do this is so you guys can ask questions about aquarium keeping, whatever it may be, because there's a lot of ways to do it. And I've been through the gauntlet, and if I don't know the answer, there is so many amazing people that join us on these that are very helpful as well. Dracon Tosh says, been watching tons of your fish room tour videos recently, Lucas. I like that one with the guy that does the good editing that said he did editing for Corey. I think his name is Schwisky. So yes, Jimmy Gimbel, aka Schwisky. He is a good friend from way, way back. I remember when he first started YouTubing, and he had like this like kind of like Casey Neistat kind of like form. Is like old school videos when he was first starting off. They were like vlog style, and he put them together so well. And I got to talking with him, and he actually came and did a video of my fish room way, way back, and it did really well. It was actually his first fish room tour video. And if you haven't seen that one and you're watching old fish room tour videos, I definitely would recommend that. I don't even know if I think you could find it on his channel still. Really good guy, really awesome. He actually works for Fritz Aquatics now. He worked for Aquarium Co-op for a while, and now he's doing a bunch of stuff for Fritz. And he has come over with Fritz as far as under Fritz, and did a tour of this place as well. So if you want to see his more edited videos of this fish room that we're currently in, he did do a tour video of it, and he always does an amazing job. I love that guy, old Jimmy. Good morning, Korea. That's cool. You can join us, JP. It's a long way away. Hello, hello, all you guys coming in. Good to see you guys, all you guys. Terry Britton says, what up, my guy? Just got Sudamergula Rutu from Gary Lang. Small, but still stunning. Yes, for sure. Absolutely. Love those Sudamergula Rutus. I've got a bunch of them marinating in a tank over here, which I probably need to get on the website sooner than later. Just letting them get a little more size on them. Oscar Ramirez says, I just spent $100 on Carolina high-end shrimp. I put them on a cycled tank. I'm guessing those are Caridina high-end shrimp, you meant to say. Says, I put them on a cycled tank, all the parameters checked out, and woke up to every single one of them dead. What did I do wrong? Well, it's really hard to tell what you did wrong without actually going through the steps that you have taken. I'm guessing you know that they need a cycled tank, and you said the parameters are good. And the only thing, with those Caridina shrimp, sometimes it's the source that you get them from. Like the imports sometimes don't do as well, and it can be close to their way out. Or maybe that tank wasn't as cycled as you thought it was. Sometimes it does help to have like maybe a snail in there first, or at least some leaf litter or a leaf to help like start the microbiology up when you're doing Caridina shrimp tanks, the high end ones. And as long as your TDS was around, 170, 160, 180, you want to make sure you don't have a whole lot of KH in there, if any. The Caridina species do not like KH, so all their hardness should be in the GH, the general hardness. And usually they're not as hard as a lot of people make them out to be, but once again, source plays a big role. So, really hard to tell why they all died, but I wonder if you have KH in there. And I do got my lights going ahead and turning off here sooner than later because actually we just got here like 5 minutes ago. I was running in from dinner and I haven't had time to turn them off or over. Silence says there's blackbeard algae everywhere. And let me know how the video quality is coming out too, especially that I'm moving my hands. I'm kind of doing that on purpose. Let me know if like the internet's able to handle that, because I would love to talk more with my hands. I'm always confined with like having to sit on them because the internet doesn't work well. Silence says there's blackbeard algae everywhere and tough green algae on my tank walls. Should I give up on plants? Most have melted. Just tear it down and start over. So, a lot of it actually depends on what you keep too. So, for instance, I have this goldfish tank that I've had in Wesley's room for quite some time that now have my red koi angelfish in it. But for the longest time, that tank was just full of algae everywhere. And now that I got platies and angelfish in there and they like to pick on that algae, they've pretty much cleaned it up and there's not a whole lot of algae in there anymore. So sometimes the littlest changes can give you success with planted tanks. But also saying that, they could also give you the biggest pain in the butt. And like my axolotl tanks, for some reason, I have no clue why this is. I've been trying to, like, when they were in a 40-gallon with pogo stem, and the pogo stem was doing phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So I bring them out here and then I put them in with pearlweed, thinking, oh, well, if the pogo stemmen did really good with them, the pearlweed should do really good with them. Well, the pearlweed's not doing that great with them. But for some reason, the pogo stemmen that I have in there now is doing good. So it is weird sometimes the slight changes, whether it can just be the type of plant or the type of waste that a fish is producing or shrimp is producing, that is causing all your green algae. And with that blackbeard algae, often gets caused by um, organics breaking down, such as driftwood. Usually is the main culprit. Every time I ask somebody if they have driftwood in their blackbeard algae tank, it's always a yes. So I don't know if you do or not, because I have seen it happen without driftwood as well. Just if you get it from somewhere else. Sometimes it could come in on something and it can get all over the place and it could be a real pain in the butt. You can help fight that with water changes and or hydrogen peroxide, which like the best way to do the hydrogen peroxide, and it depends on where that blackbeard algae is. Depends on how you want to like dose treat it. You can put it in like a syringe and you could take that syringe and kind of dose treat it on that blackbeard algae and or do a water change, drop the water level down and then put the hydrogen peroxide on it and then add your water back into it. Just um you know as far as how much you can use of it, like you just can't go overboard, but you can use quite a bit of it, especially if you're doing a water change with it, because you'll dilute any of that out. And as it goes in, it actually breaks up. And when you know blackbeard algae is dying, it'll actually change colors. And it's actually pretty radical. Like it'll be all kinds of rainbowy colors. Johnny Bass, glad to have you back on the membership and good to see you in here, brother. You're doing well. And as far as like giving up plants, I wouldn't quite give up on them. Once again, same with shrimp, same with plants. So where you get them plays a big role. If you're getting your plants from like farmed, um, like places that just like grow them outside, and then you've got to transfer them over, it can always be a pain in the butt. So if you got them like plants from somebody like me, and they're already grown under the water, they shouldn't take much to transition, and should have better success with it. And another thing to think about too, if you got one of those tanks that is just growing algae like crazy, if you got slow growing plants and a lot of nutrients, a lot of light, a lot of waste, it's just you're never gonna beat that algae. And you either got to reduce the lights, you got to reduce the waste, and or add faster growing plants. A lot of times, ways I will battle algae is with fast growing plants. What's the name of his channel? I can't find it. I think it's Jimmy Gimbal now is his channel name. Let's see. Mario Valesco, good to see you in here. Says, "What's up, Lucas? It's been a minute since I've been here. The group of just Jesus, Maria are doing great. I got some fry this year. That's good to hear. Glad to hear that. I actually had left water on one of my tubs and took out quite a few of mine, unfortunately. But I did have a backup tub, thankfully, because you just don't see those very often. Very sad. Happened to me a couple months ago. Johnny Best, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Appreciate you, Johnny. Says thanks for all you do. Well, thank you, buddy. Blue Ice Aquatics asks, LRB, is the website back up? So it is back up, and we are back in action now. So if you guys were wanting to order something, it is there. It wasn't the one that I had like designed out. I was real excited for you guys to see, but it is a website. I am still waiting on GoDaddy to do their thing, and who knows? I don't know. I may stick with Shopify. I kind of like their analytics a little better because I can understand more of like what's going on the back end than what I did on GoDaddy. So I don't know. Glad to hear the video is looking good, especially with me throwing my hands around. So if I do this, foo, 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 is it keeping up? Is it keeping up? That's the real test for a live stream. I hope so. Because if it is, that's amazing. That means we could just venture around here a lot more often. Johnny Best says, my tap water is soft. I dose baking powder to harden water after I water change. You think adding crushed coral I need besides baking soda? So crushed coral will add like more of a slow effect for your mineralization to come through because the acidity will break that down over time, unlike baking soda where it dissolves more instantly and it's more of an instant change in your water hardness. Crushed coral will be more of a slower, um, let's say, leaking of mineralization or creeping of mineralization, however you want to say it. But with the baking soda, isn't that like more bicarbonate? So you're adding quite a bit of KH. So when you're adding, especially if you got soft water, you're best off getting something that is just GH based, as just your carbonates and not your bicarbonates, which is KH, just mainly for the pure fact that the plants absolutely love GH a lot more than KH, and KH can be a real pain in the butt for plants. It adds that hardness around their plant tissue and stuff. Makes it a problem. JP Bryce 14 says, what's the optimal time to keep aquarium lights on? I have them timed for 8 hours a day and a moonlight for the rest of the time. I have mollies, a swordtail, frogbit, and duckweed. I would say if it's working good for you and you're not getting a lot of algae from it, then I would say 8 hours is fine. Like sometimes I actually not sometimes, but I run my lights at about 10 hours. I do get a bunch of algae. I've got some tanks that run only 5 hours and I hardly get any algae. I do get plant growth out of it too. I've seen some of the nicest aquascapes done and kept in only 5 to 6 hour ranges. Now, saying that, how often do you want to look at your tank? How often are you around your tank? What fits best for your schedule can all play in a role of like what is the best time for them. I've seen people run them lights for like 12 hours, 14 hours. So it really kind of depends on what's in the tank, how often you do water changes for the tanks, the maintenance and stuff like that. But especially having mollies and swordtails, you're probably not going to battle algae as much as you would with like different um, fish. They're really good at kind of keeping that stuff cleaned up. I would say 8 hours is good if it's working good for you. There's old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is the one thing about my website too, and I've got to admit, I never wanted to change my website at all because, like, for me, I love going to somewhere and it being how I expect it to be and what I know, you know? It's cool to see new things and stuff like that, but like I liked having the familiarization of the old website and unfortunately I was forced to change it. So I hope you guys like the new website. Adrian's Fish Room, good to see you in here, bro. Way across the pond. I hope you're doing well, man. Nice to see you in here. JP Jeffrey says, what spawning behavior do I look for with my mascara barbs? Some have been chasing each other recently and never really before, thanks, Lucas. That could potentially be it. Usually when they're spawning, they'll be in a group and they'll kind of go into like a corner, and especially if there's like a rock pile there, and they will like kind of wiggle next to each other. It's just like watching a cherry barb or any other barb breed or those smaller fish breed. So they'll kind of wiggle together. If they're just like chasing each other, that's more courting than actual mating. They will go down towards the ground to mate, kind of wiggle next to each other. And good to see all you guys coming in too. Even lost water, wisteria, and duckweed. You know, believe it or not, although they're really easy plants to keep, wisteria and duckweed for some people can be hard to keep. And especially a lot of that water wisteria, it comes grown out of water if you're getting it from like the quick flippers, like the people who import and just try to sell. Not often grown underwater. And duckweed, if you get it wet and it gets a lot of splatter on it, it could be a real problem. Johnny Best, thank you for giving Mario Valesco a membership there. That's awesome. Silent says, I had stem plants including wisteria, all melted. Hardness is over 300 ppm and KH is 100 ppm, 7.5 pH. Is that okay for the plants based on co-op strips? So with the wisteria, definitely the hardness is not an issue for that wisteria. It likes that harder water. Same thing with the duckweed. As long as the duckweed's not getting pummeled by, like, say, your bubbles that are overspraying and getting water on top of them, that can kill duckweed. But as far as like your parameters, those parameters are all good for those types of plants. It could either be Are you on well water? Or are you on city water? I imagine you treat your water. Sometimes, if you're on well water and you have a field near you, you never know what kind of herbicides and stuff they'll spray on that, and then what could come through your water. Sometimes that could be problems with plants. But it sounds like potentially it's just where you got your plants. And also why fish clubs are really good. If you got a fish club near you, that's actually one of really good places to get plants that do good in your water. Hello, hello. Good to see you guys. Better Great Lake says, my fish kept up the last of my Monte Carlo. I will try to grow it separately on a sponge and bring it back. So, little trick for you, if you have like Monte Carlo or HC or something like that, like, little tiny rooted plants, and you're trying to get that nice, like, carpet, the low profile carpet. And if you got those fish that like to kick it up, I used to deal with that a lot back in the day. I would get like a clear piece of acrylic and just literally set it on top of that Monte Carlo or sit it on top of that HC. That way it could still get light and it'll still grow underneath that acrylic and the fish can't knock it up. And then once it like attaches itself, then you can pull away the acrylic for good. No blurring, good to hear. Good to hear. Beautiful picture, awesome. Crystal, thank you. Holy cow, $20 super chat, Chris. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You've been an awesome supporter lately. Glad the website is up. Enclosure looks great. Keep grinding. Getting ready to set up 2 more tanks. So going to need some stocking plants and won't get it anywhere else. Best fish and plants in the business. Dude, thank you, Chris. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the kind words and letting people know. A lot of people don't realize. And I try to be humble. But Chris, thank you, buddy, for saying it. And I'm guessing you saw the members enclosure video. Harry Britton says, do you still have a good group of the Glossolepis maculosus, Synodontis catfish? Those are next on my list. And would they coexist in a single tank? So they could totally coexist in a single tank. And yes, I do have multiple groups of both. And I'm always hoarding stuff. Carrie, I know you very well, so we can definitely talk. And if I'm gonna give my Glossolepis maculosus to people, I definitely would rather them go to people like you that will do something with them. We'll make a Bruce Lee movie on that new Wi-Fi. Oh man, that's good to know, Dave. I just have to do that. King of DIY in the house. Ray Contosh says, my neighbor who I set up a 55-gallon freshwater tank for is having clarity issues. He was feeding 3 times a day, and now he said he's feeding once a day. We did put some plants in it, probably like 30%. So if he's getting like white, cloudy water and clarity issues from that, really the color and tint of the water and its clarity issues plays a big role on trying to figure out how to fix it. Excuse me, for like if you got a lot of iron in your water, you may get like a orangish reddish tint in your water sometimes because of the oxidization of the iron and how it'll color up well water especially. But if it's like that white, like a bacteria bloom had died off, really the best way to get rid of that is either letting that tank mature until all that settles out and also outgrowing it. Only feeding once a day is definitely going to help his problems. 3 times a day is a lot to be feeding your fish. And more than likely, a lot of that food broke down and unwanted microbiology was eating it up and causing that cloudy water. But that is one of those things that, a filter actually does really well at clearing up, is getting some carbon on a filter and just running it through there for a quick clear up to get it to rebalance itself. So the reason why you could get away with not doing water changes and it settling itself out is because that beneficial bacteria will eventually collect up enough to negate the negative bacteria that are causing a lot of that bad bloom. So then you're actually working, instead of like, you got to think about it as like, I'm keeping the microbiology, not so much the plants and the fish, but this is where I've got to really tune in my fish tank, is within the microbiology when something like that happens. And you want it to be as dirty and natural as possible. And that's the one thing you'll see with my tanks, is you will not really see any of that white cloudy water because my tanks are quite matured. Silent, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says, do farm breeders sterilize their rare guppies? I have had a few nice strains that just never reproduced, or are some strains just really weak? Thanks. So actually, they do. Like, importers will put things in with their fish that sometimes can sterilize them. And you're not the only person with that problem. I've personally dealt with it. I know many others who have talked about it and dealt with it, and it is sometimes a problem. And it'll be those really nice strains too that you just want to breed out, and they just won't like regular ones. Because it's not a problem for them to breed them. They're out there breeding them like crazy on the farm. But then when you get them, they don't breed so well. Like, it's definitely got to be something they're putting in the water. Because they drug those fish to ship them over and stuff like that. Big reason why I do what I do. So, oh, also, God, I just saw on a PBS NewsHour clip that they're talking about the tariffs are going to start raising the prices up on fish. I don't know how true any of all that is, but as far as USA breeders, and this is something I mentioned earlier, like a couple of years ago, that it's important for us fish breeders to be around, because if tariffs do raise up money, or even say if supply chains start breaking down, what happens to the aquarium hobby and the stuff we get? I mean, I know I can't feed the needy. Not everybody. Johnny Best says, LRB, does what you feed your shrimp really make a difference? I only feed crushed flakes. What do you think about different foods and feeding shrimp? So I always feed the tetracolor tropical granules. I've never really done much of anything else. I do believe, and actually I know, especially with like caradinas, when you have like certain bee pollen foods and stuff like that, it can get them to reproduce more. So some foods do kind of help. I don't think it's really necessary unless you're keeping like those really hard, high end shrimp. Then you getting something with like bee pollen, I know makes a difference. But I always feed my shrimp the same thing. And with that flake food, you're probably getting a multitude of different things out of it, because they usually have like something for omnivores, herbivores, and carnivores in those. And they're scavengers, so they'll eat everything else. Can barely hear you, Lucas. Oh, can you hear me now? Yeah, let me know. Maybe because my hand was over my mouth, I was busy stroking my beard. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, Lady LRB says can hear pretty good. Audio's good. Audio's good. Double tap on vertical to like, or hit the three dots in the top right corner. Yeah, that would be awesome. Could use some likes on ye old live here. Definitely doesn't hurt anything. JP Price asks, sometimes I work the day shift, sometimes I work the night shift. Is it important to keep the aquarium light on at the same time every day? Read some places it is, some places I read says it isn't. I would say it really depends on the window. So, like, you think about the day and how nature is outside. Sometimes there's cloudy periods. Sometimes it could be cloudy at night. Sometimes it could be cloudy during the day or evening or afternoon or whenever. But as long as it's in like a 16-hour window and it's not like from one extreme to another, to where, say, you're working in the mornings, so you're not going to be there, and you get home at night, and then you run it all night, and then the next thing you know, you got to work night, and then you want to run it all morning. It's kind of on the polar opposite end, and it could stretch through that like circadian rhythm that plants tend to have sometimes, just like us. So what I'm saying, as far as if you have that kind of schedule, maybe you could keep it on more towards the beginning and the latter of the day or night, depending on which order you're working as far as which shift. That way it kind of hits a median, like a middle time frame. But it is best to have like consistency of light. Always best to have consistency of light. Definitely recommend timers because it does make a difference. Your plants get used to growing like that. Dennis Engel says, will Amano shrimp eat Cory eggs? Yes, definitely. Amano shrimp are so hungry all the time. They are constantly hungry. They will eat whatever. I had a mono shrimp literally turn over substrate. They found something. It was when I was in Indiana using my yard dirt. They found something in that clay yard dirt that they absolutely loved. And they literally took all that yard dirt and flipped it upside down from the bottom to the top. Drift and Driftwood says, want to try my first lace plant. Any advice on this one? So I honestly have not kept the lace plant. Like, I think I may have tried it when I first got into the hobby and didn't have a whole lot of luck with it, and never really tried it much more than that, just because it is one of those plants that get huge and you want that dedicated space for it. So it's like a sword plant. It's just lacy looking. Um, as far as that plant goes, I know softer water does help with it. KH is not its friend. You want more of a GH based type of water for that. Because if it gets that KH around those like small bits of its lace, it's really hard for that plant to grow. And really, that's probably one of the biggest tricks with keeping that lace plant. Silent says, how much weight in rocks would you trust on the bottom of a tank? At what point do you use egg crate? Believe it or not, I like to push the limits. I know these two tanks back here have like a ton of rocks. That tank up top's at least got a bucket full of rock, which that's probably like 50 pounds at least. So it really depends. And it is on sand substrate to begin with. Hmm. Depends on how good your stand is. Same with the tank. I mean, these are just aqueons, but I've put a lot of weight on them. I don't know how much rock you really want to put, but I've seen people do some crazy stuff as far as weight with rocks. Because you got to think all that water weighs as well. And if your tank is made properly, then it shouldn't actually be too much of an issue. But 8th grade is good for like taking the weight off of it and not having to worry so much. As far as the limit, I couldn't tell you the absolute limit, but it gets up there. Chi-Town Pat and maybe other people in the chat can help chime in as well. Chi-Town Pat says LRB, would rice fish survive in a above ground pond over winter if it's kept in a cheap greenhouse? Yeah, it definitely should be able to overwinter as long as it doesn't ice and freeze over. Then you're good. Adrian's Fish Room says, Lucas, have you ever kept pseudomugul or Pseudotropheus solasi like Malawi before in your stillwater setups? And if yes, how did they go? So I can already tell you, is that a bigger cichlid or a smaller cichlid? But I can tell you, you can do it. Whether how nice your tank will look definitely depends. If it's a smaller cichlid, they're probably not going to be as a dirty eater as like saying something as big as like a Oscar or a bigger Malawi cichlid, to where they blow all the food. That becomes the biggest issue with keeping those types of fish with a no filter, is they like to blow all that food through their gills, and then it just goes all over the tank. And if nothing is in there with them to clean that up, then the algae and other things will come up and pop their head up, but they'll still live and be fine. But I haven't personally tried that type of cichlid. But a lot of them go the same as far as like how they eat and how that kind of no filter setup works. Show us your Gmax, says Lady LRB. It has been a while. We're only 37 minutes in, Lady LRB, and you can come over and see them. Actually, just right here is the biggest group of them, at least. Drifting Lace Plants says like flow and fert tabs. Yeah, any of those Amazon sword type of plants, fert tabs do a lot of wonders with. Flow, I don't know if it's like, I want to do a lot of flow because then they can just become a catchment. If you're keeping plants in just like constant wind, which that's what a lot of flow is, it keeps them at a certain state to where you don't really get a whole lot of rest to really grow. Be careful with too much flow, because I've seen a lot of people in those aquarium chats, and a lot of people, a lot of them, the aquascapers, some of them are like high flow, as much flow as possible. But there's a balance with all of it, because I've seen a lot of them, and I've done higher flow tanks, and they just create algae, and it's because they're just kicking everything around everywhere. So there's a nice balance between it, and try to find that balance between the flow. But in my opinion, not even needed. A matter of fact, I have a lot of success with my plants because of no flow. Johnny Bass asks, LRB, my funnel little paint checks, killifish I buy from you, they are doing good. No DOA on delivery, and everything I buy from you seems to outbreed all others. Well, thank you for sharing, Johnny Bass. I appreciate that. Bruce D says, hey Lucas, I need to collect my Neo shrimp from my tubs. Suggestion on what to use for bait to catch them. I have a lot of algae and leaves and hundreds of shrimp. So the best thing to do is feed like you normally do, or well, I don't know how you normally feed. So what I normally do is I'll feed my shrimp, and I usually feed them towards the front of the tank or pond or whatever you're trying to get them out of, and then feed like that. Let them all come up. Then you can scoop as many as you can, and then next day do it again. Scoop as many as you can, and then you'll more than likely get most of them after about a week. And or just completely tear the tub down and net them out. But yeah, I just feed them and try to catch them. They don't really like So like traps and stuff, they're a good idea to a certain extent. If you have food in traps, and then if you don't get to them in time, and if that food rots out in traps, and say there's too many shrimp within that trap, then it could actually get really bad really quick. And that's why I usually just feed them, scoop them, feed them, scoop them. Yes, that sounds like the good plan there, Dracon Tosh. And that guy that was having cloudy water, just tell him to let it mature and keep feeding it once. And yeah, just let time do it. It's magic. Like some things like that, you just can't like force. I think there is products out there. I think Fritz makes one as like a clarify. I personally have not tried them, so I don't really know how well they work. But I think there is some solutions like that. Saya Llewellyn, bronze member for 23 months. Saya, you have been awesome supporter. Thank you, thank you. Blue Ice Aquatics says, LRB, the steak Endler pair I got from you haven't produced any fry yet. I've had them for over a month. Any suggestions on how to hurry them along? So, you can't really hurry up fish to breed too much besides setting comfortability. And that's the best thing you could do for them is just try to make them as comfortable as possible. Try not to move too much around in their tank. And a little bit of water change. I don't know if you have softer or harder water. You know, endlers and guppies do prefer harder water, although mine water is not real hard, so they should still breed for you. I don't know why they haven't bred for you yet. Could just be it's only been a month and they just haven't had that time to be comfortable. Like fish aren't going to just breed right away, although it may only take them a month. It may take them a month to get comfortable in your tank. It may take them 2 weeks. It may only take a few days. It really depends, but it's still going to take them some time. So I would say let them just marinate and keep doing what they're doing. Try not to mess with them too much unless you're going to play some berry white or some Al green or something. Then maybe that'll work. I think he might need to bring his mic closer. Oh. Stick it on my beard here. I'll be talking to it. That work? Is that better? Can you hear me now? Now I feel like I gotta talk softly or be yelling at you. Had a mono shrimp snag a Neo and eat it. Oh, I believe that, Sonny. I believe that. Automatic light timers are good to keep light consistency. Yes, definitely. Automatic, if you're trying to keep plating of tanks, automatic light timer is a must. Silent says, do yourself a favor and get lights that you can automate or get a smart power strip. Yes, for sure. Yeah, some of them now you can do it all on your phone and all that. I just use the manuals. I do not like the digital anything. Those always tend to break down. Like the manual ones, they last forever. Johnny Best says, been thinking of fire reds to mix with ocean blues. If so, what will be the outcome? So mixing blues and reds, there is a potential to get purples. You'll tend to get like the blue carbon rillies. You can get red carbon rillies or the red rillies. Wilds, you'll definitely get some wilds out of them too. And sometimes you can get ambers out of them. And then, of course, the reds and the blues. But that's how you make purple shrimp is red and blue. Silent says, will moss and bush plants be okay if you spray them with hydrogen peroxide in order to kill black-bearded algae? Definitely the bush will be. The moss might take more of a hit and may brown out a little bit. but at least the blackbeard algae will be dead, and the moss tends to grow a lot faster than say like a bush does, and you will at least be on the right track to regrow back. Madagascar laces cool 60 plus gallon tank, says Dennis. And I believe that. And I imagine it takes a bit of that 60 gallons to get huge. My leaves are 9 inches. Yeah, I can imagine. It's one of those tank buster plants where it just like boom. Skip the gym. Says, what would you suggest someone does if the quality of their tap water has decreased due to local or water local town uses, causing them to lose fry much more frequently? I would say get all your fish buddies up and start a riot. Yeah, I don't know what else you could do. As far as like, unfortunately, like water companies in towns, small towns especially, they don't really care. They'll flush us all kinds of stuff down their water lines and not tell you anything about it. It's actually why I really enjoy being in a well now. I often see it when I used to live in the city. It would be during the fall and spring, they would tend to do something to their water, which would cause a lot of problems. And if you get used to these schedules, then you kind of know when you'll have to use more dechlor and stuff like that. And really, the only power you have is to kind of just grit down, do what you can for it, and maybe raise up a fuss and hope that they do something that won't cause it or can at least put you on a list to let you know when they do it. And not all locals are the same. Some people are nice, some people aren't. Really plays a big role on what you'll get out of that. But yeah, it sucks when that kind of stuff happens, especially when you're keeping really rare fish and, you know, the littlest things like that that could take your fish out. Like you try to take those out of the equation and hope that it doesn't happen. Well, sorry to hear that's happening to you. I know that can be a real pain. Bruce D says, I've been thinking of using heated tanks to keep a small greenhouse heated this winter since water is a good heat sink, question mark. Definitely a good heat sink. Putting at least 275s in, maybe more. Greenhouse has 10 millimeter polycarbonate. That's pretty good. Yeah, actually, what happens with aquariums, especially like say you have 275s, if you can put heaters in those 75s, those pretty much become space heaters for you. When I lived in Indiana and we had the really cold winters, I'd always put heaters in my bottom tanks that were in my garage because my garage was drafty. That was enough. I didn't have to put them in the middle tanks. I didn't have to put them in the top tanks. The ones on the bottom were enough to get warm enough to radiate the heat up and keep all the rest warm. So it can definitely help because they turn to radiator heaters. Blue Ice Aquatics says, cool, thinks it's all about patience for sure. Fish keeping is all about patience. That's why I have so many aquariums because I don't have patience. And more aquariums I have, less patience I gotta have because there's always something going on. So yeah, beard mic's working for you guys. That's good to hear. And yeah, the manual timers, show your fish says, are easier to use for sure. I agree. Like they're so easy to set. Oh yeah. Saya says, Bruce, I have heated a small greenhouse by heating my 300-gallon tub. I have also heated it using a electric greenhouse heater. Both methods worked really well. Or worked well enough. So I used to have this 240-gallon discus tank. Big reason why I don't keep discus anymore is the fact that you got to keep them pretty warm. and that does get really hot. So even if I had, like, say that, so when I did have that 240-gallon at the old house in the garage, it became too muggy and hot in that garage, and I had to get rid of the discus just because mostly that I could not escape that heat and mugginess. It's crazy, especially you get all that, like a 300-gallon tub. Definitely gonna be a big radiator heater. Lucas, have you ever found a fish egg in the beard? I can't say I'm that sloppy with it. So no, I have not. Which is actually kind of surprising, but I have not. But I also haven't been bobbing for fish eggs. Usually scoop those up or actually let them just hatch out in the tank. Makes it easier. I don't do a whole lot of collecting of eggs just because of the time it takes. VA Aquarius says, when are you doing another aquarium tour? Of like my aquariums or somebody else's? And for the answer of either of those, hopefully sooner than later. I have a lot of people that I want to go visit and do tours of, and definitely need to do a tour of this at some point sooner than later. So, after this enclosure build, definitely we'll have more time for those sorts of things. But I am planning on becoming more of a YouTuber for you guys here sooner than later. I know I've just been kind of busy with my projects and other stuff, and I do have a lot planned. Bruce D says, should I put insulation around the tanks? I live in Atlanta. I don't know. Atlanta has a few cold days. Are you running heaters in them? If you're running heaters in them, I wouldn't worry so much about insulation around them. Are these inside or outside? Are these the ones that are in that greenhouse? If they're the heated ones that you have in your greenhouse, do not insulate them because you want that heat to radiate to heat everything else up. Now, saying that as well, if you insulate the tanks that don't have the heater in it, you also keep that heat that will be radiating from those tanks from getting in as easily as well, because the insulation works both ways, either holding the heat in or keeping it out and or cold, the transferring of energy. And when you actually think about temperature as the transferring of energy, it can actually change your mindset of how temperature really works and why that's just a measurement of energy transfer. Yeah, blankets on the top. As far as insulation, top insulation definitely will help hold that heat in. But once again, it'll be harder for it to, because heat rises, cold lowers or drops. But also make sure that, if you're doing no filters, you do not want blankets on top. So make sure you have a filter on something like that. I got this fire ant bite on my finger distracting me. BA Query says, what's your day job? I'm a legend in my spare time. Silent says, go to snack while working on projects. I mean, snacks are good. I often actually fast through a lot of my projects and just eat light lunch and big dinner. Sometimes I would just do a big dinner. I was trying to stay in shape. And maybe if the snack's a twisted tea. Hey, hard to drink with this thing. Good old Southern tea. Carl Morrison says, how did you build your tank stands? So I have videos on building those out. I've got full build videos. If you type in LRB aquarium rack full build, you should get multiple videos. But I have a video of most of all these rack builds and like straight on. There's this one that's like really in depth. Was the last one I did on them. I made it about as in depth as possible. So like how to get your screws in good, everything that you would need to do it from scratch. But a lot of them, I mean, these are 10-foot tall stands. So I've just got my two on each side. And then I did double on the front and the back braces just so they would last a lot longer. And I am at the bottom of the chat. So if you got a question, that is where I'm at. And if not, then I don't know. Oh, wow, we're at 56 minutes. Any tips on minimizing fighting amongst bristlenose plecos? My red long fins always have torn fins. The best thing I could suggest is just maybe feeding them more. Maybe more caves. Could be territorial, or they could just be really hungry because they're, bristlenose are always hungry, always hungry. And if they don't get enough food, they'll eat any and everything around them if they can, or at least try to. Or just, I would say, more caves and just more food. Just make sure they're eating it. Right. Was there any fish that you took with you to Florida when you moved? So yeah, I actually took quite a bit of fish. When I moved down, I did a video of all that, like some rainbow fish, my Synodontis catfish, my mascara barbs, my rope fish. I brought back. So Lady LRB wanted to see these Glossolepis maculosus because she probably ain't seen them for a while either. Kind of hard to see. Can't really see them well with that light off. I don't want to flip them out. Only problem with cameras or with phone cameras is it will like flash for fish sometimes and it causes issues. Sunny G, that's kind of how it feels like. Trail Gudians. Some good Gudians. Anakin Aquatics, what's up, brother? Let's see you in here. Kenny. Meadow Great Lake says to clean sand, should I just suck it all up and add fresh new sand? Or you can just put the fresh new sand on top. I don't clean any of my sand. I do not gravel vac. I do not do nothing. Look at this too. And it, like, some people, this would freak them out, but this is what it should look like. It should be nice and dirty because that's what dirt does. Excuse me. There's on some what is that? Eco Complete. You can see how the mold's in here. The top's actually pretty clean. Yeah, I never clean the substrate or anything for nothing. Silence says, would you recommend going to Aquashella? It is being held here in LA shortly. I want to see if there are rare strains of guppies or corals. Definitely, dude. Definitely would recommend going to that if you've never been to one. I would definitely recommend it. Especially for corals, rare corals. Guppies are kind of hit and miss. Depends on who's there. I don't know about LA's guppy scene so much. I gotta imagine they got one though. Fish Few says, "What's your go-to substrate for any good planted tank for growing beautiful plants like yours? Just sand, just soil, and sand capping." So I use yard sand pretty much in all of my tanks, and it works really good. But as far as like if you want something better, the like special substrates. Let's see. Probably can't see any right now with the light off, but like the Brightwell and the ADA, these like more humic types of substrate, since they are softer, they can grow so much better. They're like steroids for plants. But my sand is free. My yard dirt is free. When I lived in Indiana, I would use the dirt out of my yard. It would work phenomenally because I mean that's what it's nature. That's plants are just itching to grow in that kind of dirt, whether they're terrestrial or aquatic. And why I'm a big fan of yard dirt, and that is free. Did you imagine how much it would have cost me to put substrate in all these tanks if I had to buy it? It would have been crazy. I probably definitely would not have gotten as far as I have. And as far as like the capping and stuff with your soil, so maybe you got your free substrate, your free dirt, and you don't like what it looks like, you can pretty much get what you want it to look like to cap it off with. Then you'll still have all those minerals and stuff underneath it. Excuse me. Mole is magic for sure. Did you put the yard dirt in or rinse it? I just put the yard dirt in. So the trick with yard dirt and just dirty dirt and adding it to a fish tank, say if you've got your fish tank from the start, just make sure you put like a plate down or something for the water to hit besides the dirt. That way it won't kick that dirt up everywhere and kind of slow fill it, and it won't get all like dirty and mucky and messy. And even if it does, it only takes like a day or two to settle down with a no filter. If you got a filter, it'll take forever because it'll just constantly kick it up. But I have a video, even shorts too. If you type in LRB free substrate, and it'll give you full videos of how I go about it. I used to actually take the dirt, sift it, get it a lot cleaner, let the sun like bake it out, make sure nothing was living in it. But now I'll just pretty much shovel it into a bucket and then throw it in. Is black diamond blasted sand safe to use in tanks? It is. I'm just not a big fan of it because a lot of it is like glass and you will get a lot of reflection from it. So sometimes it could be a really big algae magnet. You would have maxed out JG Wentworth for substrate for sure. Trying to get that check like JG Wentworth. Silence says possible the community breed bristlenose, Cory, and rainbow shiners all together would be really hard to do. The just due to the fact that bristlenose and Cory are both bottom eaters, and they would definitely eat the rainbow shiners' eggs. Maybe not all of them, but they could get to the fry if you use like a rock pile. There's a potential you may get lucky with a few things to pop out. Bristlenose are a little better about guarding their eggs, and so you could probably get them to community breed within that tank. The Corys would have a harder time because just bristlenose love to eat everything. But you could probably definitely get some baby bristlenose out of it. The other two would be a lot harder to get much out of. Walking around the fish room just like the good old days. I know, dude. It's awesome. Danikin Aquatics, welcome back to the membership. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. If you members have not seen the new enclosure build video, give you guys a little sneak peek of that. Yeah, I was about to say, Danikin, I think you were a member there for like 4 years or something. Maybe even longer. I don't even know. It was so long. But Beto Great Lake says, if I were to use exposed dirt like you, would you put the plants in with the dirt and then add water? So no, I would add the water first and then put the plants in. But I wouldn't be all like willy nilly with how I put the plants in. I would like tuck them in where I want them. I would make sure I didn't like jostle around everywhere. But it's best to put your plants in the water and like some people. So this stuff kills me, and I see it all the time. Aquascapers will sit there with their plants just out and about, just air drying. And when your plants air dry like that, it is so bad for your plants. It could be a lot of reasons why people put plants in their tanks and they wonder why they melt. Because these aquascapers will be doing that, and it shows it like it's a practice that you do, which it definitely should never be. Your plants um do not need a dry period. Like it's one thing like when I ship my plants, I'll ship them in a plastic bag and they won't be in water, but they'll at least have that humidity to keep all their bits moist. Now if their bits get dry, that's where it can start breaking down the outer cellular parts of it and causing a lot of problems. So always best to plant in the water. Yeah, bubble wrap when filling tanks prevents cloudy tank water. Yeah, for sure. Anything you can put underneath your water to keep it from hitting your substrate. Actually, a lot of times when I'm adding water into like the tanks that don't have the valve on it, I'll use just my hand. So I'll get my container and pour the water on my hand and have my hand right at this level of the water towards the top. So when it hits my hand, it spreads out everywhere instead of just hitting down and pushing everything around. That breaker makes a huge, huge difference. Best black sand to use, Bruce D, is in the mountains of Washington, and they do not bag it, unfortunately. Or at least I haven't been able to find a bag of it. Definitely not here locally. I can imagine maybe up in Washington they bag that stuff. But besides that, finding black sand can be a real pain in the butt, and why a lot of people do choose that black blasting sand. Me personally, I would love to use black sand, but the reason why you don't is once again, like I mentioned, that black blasting sand tends to have a lot of is pretty much made out of glass shards and has a lot of reflection, which creates a lot of algae. You could probably get some Eco Complete and crush it up, but still, that stuff's kind of sharp too. If you got Cory cats and stuff, not as big of a fan of it. Any special breeding project at the moment? No, considering I'm doing that big enclosure build. I mean, I guess like with my rice fish, that's what the enclosure build's for. So it is kind of my breeding project is an enclosure build. Fish Fuse says, thanks for the advice. That helped. If you were to start breeding fish from scratch with all the experience you have right now, what fishes you would start with? So always start with the fish that I like the most because then I can have a whole bunch of them. And most of the fish out there, as far as like market wise, I feel like there's a need for them all. So it's not like this one fish is going to make me more money or than the other. So that all depends on how you market and really who you know as far as what's going to buy it. So always get fish that you're going to want to mess with and breed and learn from because that's the whole point is that experience and that journey. Yes, moist bits are always the best bits for sure. Hello, hey Lucas. Any species of fish and plants that is intriguing you at the moment? So I would not say so much, and I've been around the gauntlet a lot, and that's another thing too. And it's kind of funny because with like the whole website thing going down and me not doing as many videos, like almost feel like a born again virgin doing this. Besides, like, I still have the knowledge for the fish and stuff. So that's been interesting and intriguing to me. But as far as like new types of fish, there's not a whole lot. I mean, I think a lot of it is due to the fact I don't have my Amazonas subscription anymore. I can imagine if I had my Amazonas subscription, that would probably be a lot different. I unfortunately have been kind of what do I want to say? Kind of boxed in as far as like fish goes a bit for what's around me. Um, Seems like a bit of the same fish cycle in my club because we don't really have a strong BAP program, which I wish we had a stronger BAP program. I know they're working on it, but I would like to see more of like the rarer stuff. And I've been doing this for so long. From my old website, we had over 419 items on it that was on the old website just of stuff that we've done throughout all the years. Kind of crazy to think about. Kyle Morrison says that Insuka that I bought from you went from 3 to 25. 3 to 25 as far as don't get electric ills though. Yeah, definitely ain't planning on that. I ain't trying to mess with one of those things. Those things are crazy. I don't know. I will always like my small fish. Honestly, you know what I really wish I could put together is a big glass catfish tank. I don't really have the money or the proper source for that. Because you got to find the proper source for those glass cats. Really makes a difference. But Danny and I, when her parents are gone, will be moving to Florida. I'll spend summers up north in Wisconsin. Dude, come down to Florida. That would be awesome. It is awesome down there. Absolutely love it. Definitely do not regret my decision moving down here. Although I kind of do miss that backyard that I built back there. It really sucks. So those who've been following me for quite some time, which I see many of you guys in the chat here, you guys know I built that big pond. Oh, actually, 5 ponds back in that old house in the backyard, and did those rock walls with the rock staircase. And I never really did get to enjoy that too much. I just pretty much built it and sold it, which kind of sucked, but the timing was either now or never, so I had to do it. But those rock walls I built with those rock stairs and how it was terraced off into 4 different levels, God, it was such a nice build. I put a lot of time in that too. That was like a 2-year build. And HOA never even did nothing. Cause fuck a HOA, right? Or I should have said bleep a HOA. No, I'm just kidding. So how I should have. I know, right, Chevy Fish? That was an awesome backyard. Did not notice your mic until now. Yeah, I had to bring it up. Had to put it somewhere. Yeah, I wish I would have made more videos on that build too. I didn't really make a final build video on it or anything. Actually, I did make a video. If you type in LRB bridge build or something like that, you might actually get the last video that I shot of it before I left. because I had to build a bridge over the pond for the new owner, just so we'd have somewhere to walk over it. But I miss the landscaping. Like here in Florida, it's flat. We don't have a whole lot unless you get to like Orlando and Claremont area. Um, there's some hills over there, but as far as like artistry wise and re-terraforming a backyard and doing that kind of stuff, you don't really have a whole lot of that over here. I did enjoy building that stuff. I am learning that, I think a lot of what I enjoy with this hobby as well is the building of the things that you can build. Like with this enclosure, with the racks and all the other stuff. Like I really enjoy that. And if any of you guys ever wanted to get into pond building, aquascapes. I took a class for them and what was it, like a contractor class? I think I got the thing over here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. No, I don't. I had the diploma somewhere. They was it Aquascape Academy. He'll teach you how to contract all that stuff. And I tell you what, you can make some crazy, crazy, crazy money. If I was about the money, it's probably what I would be doing. But since it's more about the fish for me, not the money. But if you wanted to get in something like that, I'm telling you, there's not many contractors out there who do that. It's a big market for it. And you could make some crazy money because they're not cheap. Yeah, you know what, Chevy Fish? Fire ants is the one thing that really grinds my gears about Florida. Besides that, like I can't just lay on the ground, unfortunately. Like in Indiana, I could roll around in the grass, no problem. But I guess I'm allergic to fire ants. When they bite me, they make my skin necrotic and really do damage to me. So they really suck. The gators don't bother me. Pythons don't bother me. Those fire ants, they suck. And yeah, Bruce he says just the fire ants for me in North Georgia, but I hate the cold. Exactly, same here. Old man winter was real. I'd kick them in the nuts. Can chickens eat fire ants? I don't know. I can imagine. We don't get following iguanas. At least where we're at, the iguanas didn't come up here. Have you seen iguanas in your area? Not in our area, but when we go more south, like 2 hours south here, where like our club is, that's when iguanas start showing up. There's not many in that area, but that's when they kind of start. Fence lizards eat fire ants, says Lady LRB. Sunny G says you need an anteater. Those things are cool for sure. Now that I got that enclosure, maybe I could get like a lemur to guard all my fish. And then an anteater could babysit the lemur. Sounds like a plan. Just don't know what I'd feed him. Obviously, that was a joke. Hello, it's kind of amazing that tropical fish species you can find in those Florida canals for sure. I'm not in southern Florida where it gets all crazy like that. We're in like old Florida where it's nice and development hasn't taken over everything. Red Fire on route coming to New York. Awesome, Johnny Best. You put in an order? You did. Thank you, man. Very, very appreciated right now. Trying to catch up from that whole last month of nothing. That really hurt. I got a bit of catching up for that. But all right, we are well over our hour mark. I appreciate you guys all hanging out. I had fun hanging out as well. And so happy that we could do lives in the barn. And we will be doing more lives, period, here coming up. Because I got a lot more cool spaces to do them in. And I'm excited for it. So Hope you guys are excited for it too. And hit that like button on your way out. I appreciate you guys. Till next time. Da 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 da.